So reading through your recommendations, on the Flores issue, did y'all have any conversation about what to do with 17-year-old males? Because the highest number of people coming in right now, as far as percentage, are single males that are coming across the border claiming to be 17. I assume that they've been coached that if you claim you're 17, you'll be treated differently. There's no papers or documentation. We don't know if they're 25 or if they are 17. They just come across and say they're 17. Did y'all have any conversation on that? And I have one more follow-up question on that as well.
We had some, but the emergency nature of our report focused on fixing the biggest problem, which is the family units,
right,
not the unaccompanied. And 17-year-olds would follow in there in the mix. So we had some. Our final report will address those types of concerns.
So the TVPRA, when I talk to foreign ministers and leaders in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, they all say the same thing to me. We want our kids back. To them, it's a very odd statement to say these kids crossed the border. And if we had an American that entered into Guatemala, Americans would demand their child back. We have a child from El Salvador that comes and we say, no, we're going to keep them. And the Salvadoran minister was in my office yesterday saying, we'd like our kids back. If they're unaccompanied child from El Salvador, why can't the Salvadoran government say, send them back to us? We will then repatriate them with their families. We actually created a barrier on that instead of allowing them to be able to return back to their home country. Did y'all have any conversation about that?
That is the subject of one of our recommendations, was to amend the TVPRA to permit
I saw it had a parent.
Custodial parent, yes, a parent in their home country who wants them back to be able to send them back.
Right. But what about the country itself, as far as their embassy, they're as a national entity, to be able to say, please send the child back? It's the same thing we would do. If a parent was here, a parent wasn't here, we would reach out to another country and say, send that American child back to us, we'll take care of them.
But wouldn't you have to make sure that child is going to be safe?
Right.
If the child says the reason they're not there in the first place is because they're not safe, certainly we wouldn't want to send them back.
If a gang is coercing the parent to requesting the child back.
We're not ensuring they're safe here in America. You know, we release about 79% of unaccompanied children to an undocumented person in America.
But I would venture to say that our laws are such that they would be more likely to be safe in America.
I completely agree.
I
But
don't
I'm
have
saying this is no guarantee here in terms of what's happening.
But it's just a strange anomaly that if a country says we want our child back, we basically tell them no at this point.
The complication, Senator Lankford, is the question is whether you're doing this systemically or individually. And what I mean by that is, if you're doing it individually, what you have is you have a child presenting themselves individually saying, I can't go back to my family's home because my dad beats me and it's an unsafe home. And so even if the government, even if the government is saying, I want the child back, well, okay, government, where are you going to put this child if we send them back to you? And so that's the problem is, how do you deal with that individual claim versus how do you deal with the systemic claim? And so the way the law, I'm not giving a recommendation, I'm just going to say what the law says now is you've got to then do a proceeding on what's in the best interest of that child. Is it to remain here with a guardian or is it to be removed back?
And you will get a different answer from a foreign minister versus a parent who's kind of encouraging some of the kids to come north for the
education. Because they have a brother that's already here.
Education, opportunity, better health care and whatnot. And also one of the other things, there's an awful lot of kids, thousands that are going back, sometimes as many as 4 or 5 at a time in the hands of a smuggler. Go back, put at the starting line, and then brought back to the country again. That's unconscionable. And that's something we can't let continue to happen as a country.